Mission Devotional gives kids an in-depth weekly Bible lesson and teaches a spiritual truth, scripture to remember, and an activity to put what they've learned into action. Mission Quest is available now at airshipgenesis.com/missionquest. WYL.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the...
Your AM 1160.
You've got it?
Forecast.
Okay. Thank you, Heather.
Overnight low 34. Breezy, cold with clouds giving way to some sunshine.
Present.
Thursday, high 42. Partly cloudy and
Present.
cold Thursday, night low 20. And an early flurry with partly
Present.
cloudy skies Friday, high 30. I'm Michael
Present.
Stack on AM 1160.
Trustee Berrien will be here in a few minutes. He had a meeting down in Springfield, and he's on his
For
way
your
back here right
family.
now.
Hope for your marriage.
Present.
Hope for your life. AM 1160.
Is there any amendments to the
Online at
agenda?
1160hope.com.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to table H2, the subdivision ordinance. There are some changes, some additional changes that need to be made.
$300,000 group life insurance policy.
That's fine with
but is
me.
changing jobs and can't
I
take
need
it
a
with him.
second on it.
I'll second.
I sought the many highly rated
Christine,
term life
second,
insurance
and
companies
then
we
all in
represent
favor?
and found
Aye.
one
Aye.
who is
All right.
41
We'll
and takes
reschedule it then.
medication
Thank
to
you.
control his cholesterol.
Is that it?
A 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of October 25th, 2017.
If SelectQuote hasn't
Village
shopped
Board
for your
meeting.
life
So moved.
insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Trustee Gray,
For your free
I'll
quote,
second.
call 800
Squeeze.
566
Discussion.
2424. That's
Madam
800
Clerk.
Trustee Sweez?
Aye.
Trustee Nice-Turkey?
Aye.
motion carries. Next is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I want everyone to join Santa in the village of Homer Glen on Thursday, November 30th at 6:30 p.m. at Heritage Park as we light the village tree and kick off the holiday season. Festivities will include caroling, cold weather refreshments, craft activity for children, and of course, meeting Santa. So please, for more information, please visit www.homer.org. Second, we have a group of kids here that won a championship, and from where I'm understanding, including from some of my family, you kicked a lot of butts. So, as for the mayor and the board, very proud of all you boys, and coaches too. You know the time it takes to put into this, and we couldn't thank you enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to give each one of the kids a certificate showing the appreciation from the village. I'm going to have your coach read out all the names because I don't want to screw any of them up. So we'll begin right now.
Okay, we'll start with number 1, Ty Willingham. Number 2, Anthony. George.
I'm glad I didn't do it. That's my
Picciolini. Number 3, Troy Mutz. Number 4, Rudy Acosta. Number 5, Angelo Chaveria. Number 6, Jacob Mormon. Number 7, Antonio Ferreira. Number 8, Dylan Slager. Number 9, Brady Pfeiffer. Number 10, Nick Carlson. Number 11, Frankie Marquette. Number 12, Ryan Kohler. Number 13, Drew Gallagher. Number 14, Max Rzulinski. Number 15, Matthew Connolly. Number 19, Andrew Kyle. Number 21, Damian Acosta. Number 22, Jacob Duvall. Number 25, Michael Waller. Number 30, Devin Everett. Number 33, Giovanni Zaragoza. Number 36, Kristen Cho. Number 40, Nathan Bombard. Number 49, Michael Masura. Number 52, Sayed Albakar. Number 54, Malik Salah. Number 56, Frankie Kopat. Number 57, Liam Pettit. Number 65, Michael Burgoon. Number 66, Mason Solisano. Number 70, Jackson Boschnick. Number 71, Adam Chose. Number 77, Jake Bolotevich. Number 90, Keelan Vassary. Number 92, Logan Swab. Number 95, Caden Maurer. Bringing it home, big old number 99, Owen Skentos. Your 2017 JV Homer Stallions champions.
And the one late arrival, Frankie Marquette.
You guys have the balance of the...
All right, first off, it was my understanding there was a lot of the JV team had basketball practice tonight. That's why there was a lot absent there. Kind of short notice, but boy, do we appreciate the welcome here. You guys have been great. We appreciate all the support you guys do for us, so thank you. 2017 Home Stallions Lightweights. We'll start out with Joey Luzak. Connolly Pfeiffer. Paul Downey. Nikki Mormon. Christian Flutman. Brad Soja. Bryce Turner. AJ Masterson. Brendan Metcher. Dom Tucci. Timmy O'Connor. Ramsey Barbawai. Drew Silzer. Johnny Wazalowski. Blake Garrigan. Matthew Giorgetti. Chris Miller. Justin Donegan. Andrew Satunas. Jaden Mikulski. Zach Skirpick. Gavin Hagan. Peyton Roberson. Kevin Hepner. Nolan Lamoureux. Michael Klinger. Xander Gorman. Cole Turner. Michael Swarth. John Chose. Caden McCloof. Johnny Maud. Tyler Hermatis. Wyatt Pettit. Tyler Cuccio. Connor Rakel. Andrew Bailey. Tyler Pospisil. Jonathan Fostis. Tyler Sufsick. And that is your 2017 Lightweight Homer Stallions Super Bowl champs. Yeah, why don't the coaches come up as well?
Make sure they're not upside down.
All right, everyone, smile. Put the cards down for a minute so we can see everyone. Cards
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, thank the mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank the board.
A reminder, the Village Hall will be closed on Friday, November 10th, in observance of Veterans Day. Village Hall will also be closed on Thursday, November 23rd through Friday, November 24th, in observance of Thanksgiving. And then it's just, we want to congratulate the Homer Stallions lightweight and junior varsity teams on their Super Bowl wins. Both teams won the River Valley Youth League Championship games on Sunday, November 5th. From what I hear, this has been a great season for the Homer Stallions. The lightweight team has 11 wins, 0 losses, and the junior varsity came in at 9-2 win-loss record. Absolutely outstanding performances from both teams. We'll go to the trustees. Start down with Trustee Kierkegaard.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Trustee Suisse.
Thank you, Mayor. During the Environment Committee's meeting last night, we had a guest speaker from the Conservation Foundation, who is the Will County Program Coordinator for our area. It was very timely when we discussed H1 on tonight's agenda. The coordinator discussed protecting our streams from pollutants such as chemicals and fertilizers. She also discussed how residents, corporations, and municipalities can work in tandem to encourage practical, cost-effective, sustainable practices. A proverb from their brochure states, "Treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. It was loaned to you by your children." That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee Rogers?
Reporting on behalf of public safety, recently at our last meeting, it came to our attention that we were missing some stop signs in the Ellen's Gate subdivision. We contacted the developer and he assured us that those stop signs will be up late next week. We also had someone come from one of the schools, Reed School, imploring us to put up a blinking light, and we had some discussions relative to, that was something that needed to be addressed with the school, but we did reach out to the school and let them know that, we too are concerned about that, and they are looking into it and had been looking into it prior to that. The speed radars are now going to start picking them up throughout the village. We found them to be extremely useful and very productive, but with the winter months coming, we felt this is the best time to pick them up. And we, as a board, as a committee, are going to be working on implementing a monthly public safety awareness beginning more than likely next month. And as a consensus, the Public Safety Committee supports the revised building code. The fire chiefs are here, I think, to answer. They're hiding in the back. So they're here to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. But as a whole, the Public Safety Committee supports the revised building code. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Rogers. Trustee Barron?
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Netsky?
No report.
Thank you. Trustee Gray?
No report, Mayor.
Okay. Village Treasurer?
No report, Mayor.
Village Clerk?
No report.
Village Attorney?
No report.
Public Safety Officials?
Just briefly, leaf burning permits are available in the building department or on our website. The regulations for leaf burning permits are on that application and they're free of charge.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Real quick. I brought it up during the public safety meeting with Fire Prevention Month last month. We just want to thank Ace Harbor, George, and State Farm, Michelle Copley, EMA, the Sheriff's Office. We did a public safety event at the Ace Hardware. Unfortunately, it wasn't real well attended, but again, we want to thank everybody for their support. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
You stole some of my stuff, but real quick, just a reminder, selling on Craigslist, we're getting into the holiday season. Just some quick tips. If you're going to sell something or buy something, meet in a public place, somewhere that's well lit, bring somebody with you, okay? Be especially careful buying or selling high value items, okay? Take your cell phone with you. Everybody keeps them with you anyway, but keep it handy. Something else, trust your instincts, common sense. Your sixth sense isn't feeling right, you can sell it somewhere else. All right, and that's all I got there.
Thank you.
The reason I bring that up, we've had a recent case down in the Lenox area, so that's why I wanted to get everybody up to speed here. Thank you.
Village Manager?
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comment? I guess you want to speak, huh, Dave?
I'm first on the list. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Freedy. I live at 12749 Oak Valley Trail, Homer Glen. I want to talk tonight about the Meyer Store Simply Give program. As many of you know, I'm a volunteer at the Lockport Food Pantry. The Lockport Pantry serves Homer Glen, Homer Township, Lockport Township. I've been there for roughly 8 years. As I've said before, when I first started, we were serving 100 families. Now we're a little over 300 families, so the need is really there. 3 times a year, Meyer runs a Simply Give program. The program basically is now on. It's from Sunday, November the 5th through Saturday, December the 30th. The program works in the way that Meyer has these $10 little 3x4 cards at the end of every cashier's counter or cashier's line. Public goes in, buys a $10 card. Meyer will match that at $10. So your $10 donation becomes $20. On 2 days, which are December 8th and December 9th, they have double match days. So that $10 now becomes $30. So as you can see, that can add up pretty quickly. Meyer takes that money matches it, sends cards, these little food cards that the food pantry uses to buy food at the Meyer store. So every Meyer store participates. I'm kind of partial to store 219 on Bell Road in Homer Glen because they take care of the Homer food pantry. I think that's it. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dave. Second would be Jack and Linda Zander.
Really only Linda. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for meeting with us and all the help the village manager gave to Amber Field. As you know, I'm the original owner. I bought in 2006, and Amber Field has been up. I don't know if you want to say a lot of contention there. Recently, I went through all the budgets, and I realized that we have spent over $57,000, almost close to $58,000, missing 1 year on the swale and the berm. 85% of the residents are seniors. Basically, our taxes are high, as you know, because most of you live here, and we really realize that, the cost that we're paying for this swale and the berm is becoming a hardship for some of the residents there. And I do appreciate your time and for consideration on hopefully changing the requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Boo? Kathy, if you want to come up at the same time, that's fine.
Evening. David Boo at 15850 West Shady Lane in Homer Glen. Our fifth generation family property includes a farm and farm acreage at 159 McGowan Road. Our property is at the far western edge of Homer Glen, close to 159th Street, I-355 exchange, and is planned for commercial corridor development as a gateway to Homer Glen. 4 years ago, we annexed into Homer Glen to aid in attracting commercial development with the stipulations that provision of sewer and water would be within 5 years, or we could opt to be annexed. Commercial business inquiries show that many are looking for sewer and water availability, which still is not available. However, we do have a long pending contract for 5 acres on the corner of the intersection by a prominent local developer for a gas and wash station, mini mart, and car wash. This would be a very appropriate user for this location that would generate significant sales and tax revenue benefiting Homer Glen. Gas and wash has met or exceeded all village codes and requirements. It would be an attractive business as a commercial gateway into Homer Glen. The local township residents along Gallagher Road have expressed concerns that diesel fuel sales may attract large trucks and add to illegal truck traffic on Gallagher Road. Other concerns have extended into gaming. Consequently, the Homer Glen Board has approved the gas and wash business proposal excluding these services. There are no over-the-road trucks, semi-truck services here, like the interstate truck stops offer. There are no truckers' lounges, showers, overnight parking, or semi-parking. Gas and wash site traffic from the diesel island is exit only onto 159th Street and not onto Gallagher. Diesel fuel is an important offering for local personal vehicles, pickup trucks, contractors, local delivery, landscapers, commercial service, and so on. Most modern gas stations in the area include diesel fuel. Gaming would primarily serve the people from the local community which shop there as they would at any other Homer Glen business locations. We have been notified that Gas and Wash will soon terminate our contract effective December 15th due to the current Homer Glen restrictions to them being a modern full-service location. Property across the street of this same intersection is for sale. It is in Lockport and may be an alternative for this development. As much as we would not like to lose this property sale, the possibility of it going across the street to Lockport or elsewhere would be very disappointing. I respectfully request you reconsider these two restrictions and allow or even encourage this business development to proceed as submitted by this respected area developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Kathy, did you want to say something?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Kathy Boo, better looking half, at least I say so. I am also living at the same location. I've been dealing with this, like David said, for 2 years. We've had this contract. My concern is if he goes, he's going to go right across the street. And I know he's been talking to the landowner across the street, which is Lockport. I know he's also been talking to Lockport. Concern would be that you're going to lose the revenue, which is estimated between $400,000 to $450,000 a year. But yet if he goes to the south into Lockport, you will still have all the truck and traffic, but you will get nothing from it. You know, he has given me an idea of the sales tax, which is $240,000 a year. Gas would be $90,000 a year. Diesel is $18,000, and video gaming is $60,000 a year. Those are estimates for this location. It just seems a shame that he has done everything that was asked and required of him. He stepped up, he changed the color on the location because somebody didn't like the red. He put a different color in. This is what, we're 1,000 feet from 355. It's a major interchange there. The traffic with the industrial parks to the north and south of me has gotten incredible on Gauger Road with cars going back and forth. He was talking about having a coffee and food place in there too, besides the gas. So the income from people that work 24/7 in these warehouses would be incredible. I just think it's a shame that he's going to walk away from this if it isn't corrected, is the way I would put it. And like I said, 2 years of our lives have been put on hold because of this, trying to figure out what is going to happen. And I want you to think, if you had a contract to sell your home and it kept being extended because someone else was telling you what you could and could not put on your property, and it took 2 years out of your life, how would you feel? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We have one more. Paul McGarry.
Hello, my name's Paul McGarry. I actually live in Amberfield. I just moved in the end of April. I'm in favor of our plan to repurpose or redo the swale and try to get rid of the unattractiveness of it, and also deal with the fact that it is, as we've already been told, a big burden on our budget. In fact, when I looked at our budget for 2018, our proposed budget, it's a 1/12 of our budget for the entire development. That's a huge chunk of money. As I stated, the growth in the swale is very unappealing, and it acts as a catch basin for a lot of garbage and debris that's blowing around in the area. I've actually just taken several pictures today before the sun went down, and I can show you guys those pictures. Another thing that I thought about with respect to this is that it appears, just again in my short time being here in Homer Glen, that on the 4th of July in particular, I went out onto my deck and I couldn't even be out there for 5 minutes without mosquitoes biting so bad that I couldn't stay out there, even with mosquito repellent on me. So I believe that it's a mosquito breeding ground too. Another point that would be beneficial if we could do this is that it would actually make our neighborhood a little bit more neighborly. Right now, I live in the center part of the area, and my backyard is about this deep, and then I run into the swale. So the neighbor that's behind me, I would have to walk all the way around the block just to say hi and shake their hand. So if this was something we could get rid of, and putting grass, trees, bushes, we could definitely be more neighborly. I think that would be very nice. I also think this might make our homes a little bit safer. In these pictures that I took, if you guys are interested in seeing them, even with the amount of moisture we've had over the last week and a half, everything appears very, very dry there. I'm almost wondering if it's not a fire hazard. or potential fire hazard. So I guess I'm hoping you guys will side with us and help support us, and that we can start to make some changes in Amberfield. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul. That's it for public comments for now.
Hey, George. All right, if I ask for one thing.
Yeah.
You have a safety committee tonight, and I've been driving out to Lockport now for 2 or 3 years back and forth once a week. And what's happening, 2 weeks ago, on my way out there, I passed up 7 cars with 1 headlight, 1 car no headlights. I think it's about time maybe we started having the police department ticket these, people that, drive with 1 headlight or no head. I mean, the guy, I don't know, maybe he had too much to drink or something, but it was 9 o'clock at night, and he's driving down the road at night, and, and how can he see with no headlights? I mean, something's wrong here. And the people with 1 headlight should either be given a warning ticket or a ticket. But, I mean, maybe we could look at it a little closer, because it's getting, like you say, with the holidays, there's going to be a lot more drinking, a lot more people out there, and a lot more problems. So, other than that, that's it.
Lieutenant, can you address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
7 cars was a lot.
I can tell you that the vehicle code requires 2 headlights, so therefore it's probable cause for one of our guys to make a stop. If the squad sees the car, if they're not on another call, John, they're going to pull it down. It's just that stretch. Did you see any squads going by when you saw those 7 cars?
No.
Yeah, because they may be on other calls at the time. In between calls for service, they're out patrolling the zones. So in the process of driving down the road, to actively patrol businesses or your neighborhoods, if they see a car with a 1 headlight, they'll definitely pull it down. Absolutely.
Like I say, every night that I go out there,
Sure.
I see 2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago when I saw 7, I said, holy mackerel.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of the people, if you're going down a well-lit road, you can't tell in your car that it is out. There's times they'll pull them over, innocent enough, they'll let them know, get it fixed. But it's a reason definitely to pull them over. They're not going to ignore probable cause to make a stop if need be, especially for safety, because ultimately our concern is safety for everybody involved. Okay. But thanks, John. I'll remind the guys too. Appreciate it. Sure. You got it, buddy.
All right, we're in legislation and action items now. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 17-064, an ordinance granting a minor change, section 220-0903 of chapter 220, zoning of the code of the village of Homer Glen, to planned unit development for Amberfield townhomes, approved by ordinance number 03079.
I so move.
Trustee Caprio.
Second.
Trustee Perry, discussion?
Mayor, I, as in general, support the motion. Spent several, I've had several meetings with some of the homeowners out there over the past 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, I would have been really against this. At the time, the site looked like a conservation design. Since then, I've visited several times, most recently about a month ago, and there is no conservation design out here anymore. People have just mowed when they want to mow. And to no fault of the residents, I think when this was proposed years ago, it was a great concept. Unfortunately, the economy hit, it went into bankruptcy. The developer really didn't, to keep these up, you need to hire experts to do this type of weeding and planting. It's just not the typical mow and go type of a thing. So up until just last month, it just doesn't exist anymore. It is truly an eyesore. I was out there, I think, in August or July, and I couldn't wait to get in my car because, as the gentleman said, there's so many mosquitoes and bugs and just a lot of rodents running around because there's just no type of maintenance going out there. So I think that, although the concept was a great concept, it wasn't followed through with, and as a result, you have what you have now, which is just a piece of property that looks, you know, neglected. People drive by that place and it looks like it's in bankruptcy, and it's not. So I would like to propose a motion similar to yours, in adding the verbiage to that. So if I could just read it over again.
Go ahead.
Is that the proper way to do this? Well, okay, I won't read the motion, but in general, what I'd like to add is that, that we allow the homeowners association to decide what they feel is best for their development. Now, the packet keeps referring to a homeowners association, and I think it's important to note that there is no homeowners association out here right now, because you have to have a certain percentage sold.
There is a homeowners association, I'm sorry. There is. The
builder.
Wait, I'm sorry?
The builder and myself, the management company.
So you have, it's on file with the state, you have your minutes, you have an active homeowners association?
Yes.
Okay, so I stand corrected, I was told the opposite. So, what I'd like to say, to piggyback to that, so there is a homeowners association, apparently that's news to me. I was told that there wasn't an active homeowners association. I wasn't aware that you were filed with the state and submitting all your minutes and everything like that. So I'd just like to add language to that, that the homeowners have the authority to maintain it, and they're responsible for it without including any of that wetland on the north, which is, you know, we can't really go into that area. And should the homeowners association fall apart, because that does happen at times, subdivisions get in, there's an active homeowners association, times change, people fall apart, and then at that time, the developer would have the authority, but the developer probably won't be there anymore once he turns it over to the homeowners association. But I guess it's kind of irrelevant if there is an active homeowners association, then I would support turning it over to the homeowners association, so.
And I agree completely.
I would support that, Con. That's what I do for a living. Are you Amberfield at Homer Glen or ownersassociation.com or Owners Association? Is that the right? Brett Niminick is your registered agent?
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I would also support that. It's the responsibility of management.
Exactly. It's not. We're not here to decide how you're going to live and what it looks like. When it came before Homer Glen, when it was first built, they agreed to a conservation design, and like Trustee Rogers has said, it's kind of fallen apart over the years, and it does not look nice. But we're not here to decide for you. You have to make that decision. That's where you live. So with
I also want to add, though, that the developer supports this. And about a year and a half ago, we met with the property management company that was managing it at this time, and she really supported it as well. She's like, you can't manage something like this without it costing a lot of money.
And that's why we ran into a problem, because we did not know there was a homeowners association to do this. We were told there wasn't one. So with you having it, you have the right to make the decision of what you want to do.
The motion passes.
As long as the motion passes. So, like I said, we don't want to be the lawn police too. That's where you guys live. You decide what you want to do. Trustee Sweet, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I do. Because it was very enlightening, hold on here. Last night, when we talked to the Conservation Foundation expert, I just want you to know, because the bioswale was not maintained for the last couple of years. So, I don't understand where all the money, you said there was a lot of money spent. But it was, a bioswale and native plantings are 50% less costly in the long run than turf grass. So you have to understand that, because if you're going to be putting in these beds, you're going to have weeding, you're going to have more grass cutting to do as well. And what about, that's a low area where that bioswale is. Turf grass only has roots that are 2 or 3 inches deep, where a native plant is 4 feet or more. So hopefully when you have a wet spring, that turf grass is not going to turn into swamp grass. So And I would suggest you go to the company that did this diagram here. The Conservation Foundation has experts that deal with not perennials, but native plants, and I would suggest contacting them for more help, for more assistance, because this company said that they are making no claim and no guarantee that the removal of the bioswale will create an improved condition in that area. So I don't know how many of you saw this landscape. This was what you sent to us. So I just want to make sure, you maybe get more requests for proposals if you're going to go move forward with different plannings up in front.
I'd like to add that I agree with Trustee Rogers that it's in the homeowner's best interest to just take charge of this. Just like we all take charge of our own property, we know what looks nice, we know how to maintain our property, and we don't really want somebody else telling us how to mow our grass or what to plant. To Trustee Sweet's point, she is correct. You're going to find things that are going to work that aren't going to work. But again, just like we've all found in our own yards, we find things that do work and don't work in areas where there's either shade or there's abundance of water. So I'm supportive of what you want to do, and I trust that because you have skin in the game, you all have property values to protect, that you will do the right thing over the course of time. It might not be the first year or the second year because you will have a learning curve to get over, but you will get there, and I support that. So.
If we're leaving it up to the homeowners association and the homeowners association falls apart, then whose responsibility is it?
Homeowners.
So it falls back
That's what they're going to be looking at, so if they want it that way, then that's okay.
If the homeowners association falls apart, it goes into receivership, and say if they fall out of default of their corporate standing.
So they'll still be paying their assessments and the assessments, but they would like pay to call over myself, and then we maintain it. It's like the receivership. A judge appoints the receivership.
Regardless of what happens, they pay their assessments. Property maintenance has to continue.
Mayor, how do we prevent any, with the detention ponds, because that's off limits?
The detention ponds you can't touch.
Right.
And it is in the agreement. As for the property where you live, you can make whatever changes you need to make. But like they said, this is on you. The village doesn't want anything to do with this, because if we start telling you what to do and then we pick up the pieces and it falls apart, we're going to have to do it with everyone, and that's not going to happen. So you have a homeowners association. As long as the board approves this, you can do what you need to do.
We need to amend the original motion by Carl.
All right, so
There's no amendment. Because there's no amendment because there is a homeowners
right,
association.
so they can actually take it over without having to go through that.
So you want to click on it? I'm sorry.
Sure.
What's funny about this for me is, before I was aware of this situation, my son had a ball game at the park right across the street earlier this summer, and we had several games there, but at some point, looking across the street kind of caught my eye. And I made a phone call the next day, because to me, from the park on Parker, it looked like almost like a abandoned development, right? From the road. And so I made a phone call on that, and that's, I guess, when I was first kind of informed on the situation here. But that was my take on it as someone just passing by. It had gotten to such a point that it was unattractive, and at the time I just said, well, that's what the residents there prefer. Now knowing that the residents there are just the opposite. But I think one important point here is, so I tend to agree with the rest of the board members that giving you all the authority to do what you think is best is the appropriate measure. The one thing I'd add to that is, so the authority's with you. I just think it's important when Trustee Sweets talks about some of the education of it. There's a difference between mandating something and educating. And so from the authority side of it, I think, that's up to you all. That's what my vote would be. But I also think there's an important education process as you make that decision.
You know what, Ann is right, we do need to amend it because the discussion, or I think my opinion is we're turning it over to the homeowners association. So my amendment was to, it adds language relative to we're turning it over to the homeowners association. If you read the proposed amendment, it just says letting somebody make changes, where I was wanting to specifically say the homeowners association.
Maybe the mayor didn't read in the last portion, because it's in there.
Well, it says, I read the whole thing about the development of the Amberfield Homeowners Association, so, then I'll leave the.
It's in motion.
I just wasn't sure, when it has that.
It's got to be clear that we're turning it over from a village perspective, so we no longer will mandate anything to do with that.
Let me try to clarify. What the association was trying to present is a alternate plan, which you have in front of you, which talks about what they were trying to do. I think what the board is suggesting, and what Trustee Rogers is suggesting, instead of tagging it to a new specific plan, not tag it to a specific plan, but just give the association the authority to maintain the property, not counting the wetlands as they see fit. And this way, we're not regulating a separate plan.
All right.
So
then I'll read this optional clarification motion. No, I'm sorry. I can read.
I just want to make sure I wrote it correctly.
We can retract our motions first.
No, you can just deny it.
Okay.
Motion to approve ordinance number 17-064, an ordinance granting a minor change, section 220-903 of chapter 220 zoning of the Code of Village of Homer Glen to plan unit development for Amberfield Townhomes approved by ordinance number 03079 to grant the Amberfield Homeowners Association design and maintenance authority over the common area landscaping, not including the wetland area to the north of the development.
They don't need additional approval from us, they can just do whatever. Well, there's already a motion on the table.
So,
That's the amendment.
we're amending the motions. All right, so this is, now if there's any more discussion, then we'll call a vote.
A second, the amended motion.
Okay. All right, so any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Berrigan?
Aye.
Trustee Mansky Church?
Aye.
Motion carries, the property is yours to deal with. All right. Good luck with whatever you're going to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, let's continue. Number 2, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 1?
Rose tabled, Mayor.
Yeah, we tabled it. Okay, number 3, 2018 IML RMA contribution invoice renewal approval. Is there a motion to approve the 2018 IML RMA contribution invoice renewal for dues, workers' compensation, and liability insurance coverage in the amount of $46,459.39.
So moved.
I'll second.
Trustee Dorian, trustee Tree. Discussion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mansky Church?
Aye.
Trustee Berrigan?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, pay estimate number 2 from Austin Tyler Construction Incorporated. Is there a motion to approve pay estimate number 2 from Austin Tyler Construction, Inc. for Phase 1 of Heritage Park Project in the amount of $521,383.50?
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
A second.
trustee Caprio, discussion.
Can we get just a quick update on where this is at and we are? Where, if, I know it says that it has been looked over, but we honestly can't walk out there, so.
Sure, real briefly, it's about 25% complete thus far. We had a construction meeting this past Monday. The builder is working on storm sewer and water. We had closed down 151st Street. They've got that connected up. Now they're going into the park. They're going to be, depending on the weather, going to put the sub-base around the ring road, and then they're going to be working on the walking path. They're going to try to get the walking path paved this winter. Obviously weather dependent. The last couple of weeks with the rain really slowed them down on some of it. They're still on schedule. And I don't know, Trustee Swees, you were at the meeting, any comments? I care sharing that. So it's going smooth. The contracts have been really good to deal with.
And the water is in. The water's under the road, so that's all done.
This is the biggest project in this town right now. And so I think it's fantastic that we're moving forward, and phase one is well on its way and on time, and hopefully we stick to that timeline. And again, I'm anxious for the day that we open up the full Heritage Park. So I think we're moving in the right direction on this.
We agree. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Maxey? Aye. Trustee Barron?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll go on to the workshop item. The Public Service and Safety Committee recommends approval of the amending building code. There is no motion being requested in tonight's workshop. Is for purposes of discussion only.
So maybe the fire chiefs can come up, Todd, and,
I'd like to just, also I'd like to just do an overview of some of the main topics.
Okay.
And a little background information, and also maybe, any comments that the fire districts might have. Been working on this for quite a few years. First, I want to thank the fire districts for helping working on this code. They've been helpful, and we work together quite a bit. The village's building code, it's primarily about building safety, but it also gives us the ability to enforce our zoning and state energy mandates, which we're required to do by the state. Significant changes haven't occurred to this code since 2007. Currently, we're using 2006 adopted ICC codes, a 2005 electrical code, and technology's changed over the last 10 years. We need to update these reference codes, and we also need to address some of the deficiencies and improve the processes that we do during our normal permitting process and things like that. Some of the new ICC codes we're looking to adopt are the pool and spa code, and the existing building code, and also the solar energy code. So if you look in the handout, those have been deleted, and there's actually code section or code that address these codes. Also, we codified the village building code about 2 years ago, and we're correcting, amending this document. We'll be correcting some of the inconsistencies that we found in that document. I'm just going to kind of go by pages and highlight some of the things. First section is the article, the adoption of our technical codes. We reference these. The codes themselves are probably a series of books that would be stacked about 4 foot tall. Those are the codes we adopt. We'd be looking at the 2015 10 separate International Code Council codes that we're looking to adopt, as well as the Illinois State Plumbing Code, which is mandated by the state, and the NFPA Association 70 Code, which is the electrical code, and that would be the 2014 version. They're actually coming out with a new series. Those codes are updated every 3 years. They'll be coming out in 2018, probably sometime next year. Some of the supplemental requirements that we would like to see adopted, which would be on page 5 of the handout. Plastic sheds, we do permit sheds currently, and we're looking at not permitting sheds, these plastic sheds that you would buy at Home Depot that are under 50 square feet. They basically can be picked up, moved around, so we don't feel the need to permit those. Our sheds right now are required to go on concrete slab, and it just doesn't seem practical with these type of structures, accessory structures, because they're easily moved around. We have no language in our current regulations for mold remediation. We've run into some instances where homes are full of mold, and we just like to get the proper people in there cleaning these things up, making sure we're getting the right documents, they have the right methods and means that this is being done properly. In-ground pools, we've had a few instances where people want to take out their in-ground pool. We have requirements for that now, where they're just not burying the debris from the pool. We have actually if they're a metal pool, which sometimes they are, we get that removed, and it's filled in with clean fill. So that's something we're looking to do. Presently, we have no language for an appeal board, so if somebody were to disagree with the decision that I'm making as it pertains to a code, the village board would act as the appeal process for that, so we come before you. Requiring heat detectors in attached garages. Currently, there's no smoke detectors, heat detectors required in attached garages. From my experience over the years, I've seen quite a few fires start in garages, and because they're rated with 1 hour walls and 1 hour doors, a lot of times they're really blazing away before the people, the occupants of the home, even know that the garage is on fire. I had some instances where the garage door is actually melting before the occupants know that their house is on fire. So it gives you a means of these people inside the home alerted that their garage is on fire. Passive radon. Passive radon is required by the state now in all single-family homes, but it doesn't address attached single-family homes. So we'd like to get that in there where your townhomes like in Amberfield or Stonebridge are putting in these passive radon systems. That's a state requirement only in single-family homes right now. And then commercial restrooms, just that we have two emergency lights in commercial restrooms in case the car goes out. The occupants in the restroom will be able to get out. Stub-ups for low voltage wiring. We're seeing a lot of that in commercial jobs. This way, what it would do basically is have a pipe through the wall that would accommodate the wiring for the low voltage fire systems or different computer lines, things like that. Instead of just running that wiring through the wall, it's a lot cleaner, easier process than just letting it go through the wall. The electrical code, it's not required to be piped, but it's just a good practice. Also, removal of unused systems. We have some older commercial properties here that are going through some rehabilitation, and we're finding that it has some old wiring systems in there, heat systems. In order to update it, we're asking that those be removed in their entirety if they're not being used. It really cleans up the space, especially in drop ceilings, things like that in these commercial properties. And then also contractors or builders must offer residential fire sprinklers to their potential buyers. We're not looking at requiring residential sprinklers. The 2050 code does require that, but it will give the purchaser the ability that I've heard some builders not want to even address that issue or wouldn't even build a home for a resident who wanted fire sprinklers. Just require that they offer that option to the resident. We do require currently 2 sprinkler heads in the home by the furnaces as a method of combating any fire there. The 2015 codes, which we're looking to adopt, does have provisions in it now for communities that have opted not to fully sprinkle their homes. They're increasing the fire rating on basement floors if they're constructed with TGIs or wet trusses in order to help prevent the spread of fire and protect firefighters if they were to go down there. So those are some of the supplemental things we're looking at. Kind of going to page 6, I just wanted to clarify under fees, I added some language that's in the blue on that handout. Outstanding fees, fines, monies owed to the village need to be paid prior to we issue any permit. We've had some instances where some contractors or other residents have owed us money on outstanding violations or some other issues, maybe not completed some projects and are behind on those. This will give us the ability to deny a permit until they came into compliance, paid all their fees, and brought any issues that they had up to our requirement. On page 8, we've had some issues with temporary occupancies. This time of the year, once it starts getting cold, if somebody's building a home, they cannot complete their exterior concrete work, their landscaping, things like that. And often that, and we require a final survey once that's all done. This would, a $2,000 deposit, which they would get back once all those things were completed, in order to get their CO. Just a deposit to make sure and give us some assurance and motivation on their part to get those items that weren't completed during the TCO process completed. This kind of helps our whole processes here. That's been a long-standing problem here. Once the people move in, just getting them to complete some of the things, the final survey, make sure the grading's been done properly. This would kind of help alleviate that process. Hang on the slides here. Some more technical amendments. Going into page 13 through 19. Our garages, like I mentioned, are rated at a fire 1 hour rating. You often see these pull-down stairs, which are made out of cheaper wood products in the garages, and it's just an access point for a fire in that garage if it were go get up to the ceiling, just for it to spread through the rafters of the home. So it seems to make sense. They do make these. We've had a few builders voluntarily do it. It's just another safety aspect of the fire portion of it. 2-inch gas curb, just something that was in the codes years ago, it somehow got taken out. It really, in case you get a leak in your car, the gas in the garage, it prevents it from going back toward the house. So it's like another layer of liquids or gasoline in the garage that will help it from running back towards your home and creating a problem there, or maybe a fire hazard. Garages backfill with stone and rebar. We've had some instances where they've backfilled them with clay or dirt, and then they've settled, the garage floor settles. So backfilling with stone and these rebar pins in there would help prevent that problem occurring down the road. And also we've taken out in the electrical section, GFCI is not being required at some pumps, furnaces, and refrigerators. A lot of times they may be triggered with a power surge or they fail, and then your food goes bad, your sump pump goes bad, something that really isn't necessary. The next section we kind of revised with just better language with the fire districts. The previous or the current code doesn't address the individual fire districts or fire district having jurisdiction. We have 4 fire districts involved, so we updated that to mirror the 4 fire districts. So we updated some of that language. Knox box required at security gates. The fire districts actually came up with this, what they're looking for. Maybe Dave can.
Yeah. In particular, we had an incident recently where we went to a gated community. They have a power gate. They didn't have any access for us to get into the gate years ago. There was a Knox box there with a key or a code in it, and it's no longer there. They remodeled and they redid the gate and they took it out. So what we're looking for is Knox actually sells a regular Knox box, and then there's a $27 switch that goes in it. So the whole thing would be like $330. They actually mount it to the gate somewhere, or mount it to the post, and then we open the box, flip the switch, and the gate opens. So we'd use our Knox box key to get in. and that's what we're looking for. So they, this particular subdivision, again, they were all, oh yeah, we gotta get it, and they haven't called me yet. But I was telling Joe, I did get a phone call day before yesterday from a resident that is putting a power gate on his single-family property, and he's like, hey, I want to make sure the fire department can get in, and he called me about it, and he actually, within 10 minutes, I got the email from Knox that he ordered it, and he's already installing it, and it's not even in the code yet. He was very concerned about making sure that we can get on his property. So what we're looking for this is one of the things that, a lot of the codes and stuff obviously will be for the future, anything new that's built. This is one of those things that we're looking to actually put existing language in there, that anybody that is existing, such as this other subdivision we went to, and any other properties that we find that have these types of gates, that we can actually go back and give them a time frame that they actually have to install it and put it in so we can get in. Any questions?
I've had questions about a bunch of it already, but in particular about the Knox box, I had written down there, I didn't read it as being on only new construction. I thought it was going to be retroactive to existing properties. And so one of my questions was, how many properties would this make non-compliant? And why, if it's a life safety thing, why are we going to give them 12 months if it's only a $300 solution?
Right, yeah, that's something that you guys, if you want to make it sooner, absolutely. We just figured that, give the 12 months by the time we notify them and stuff, but, by all means, if you want to make it sooner, we're more than happy to, go out and do it. Now, as far as the numbers, I know like in our part of the fire district, we've got at least about 4 that I know of for sure that would have to do it. As far as some of the private drives, I'd have to go take a drive down some of these flag lots and stuff to see if there's any more of those. If they don't have a power gate, the other thing that we would be asking is that they actually put a Knox lock on it. A lot of times they'll just have like a gate that they close with a padlock or something. Knox actually does sell a padlock that we can put on there with our key too that would work. Similar to what we use right here at the highway department and stuff. So, yeah.
We're happy to answer any questions.
If you want to keep going, you're on a roll, so go for it.
All right. Accessory buildings may not need fire suppression. We've had we've had an instance where a small accessory building to a commercial property, maybe a shed or a cashier station, or even like they used to have those old photo booths or something like that. We're in the parking lots. They don't have anymore, but it was a good example. Even though they're commercial properties by our code, they would require fire sprinkler in there, and it doesn't really make sense for a small accessory building like that to have a fire sprinkler in there. So that's where that would apply. And also the slop sinks, that was something I ran across and I put it in my notes a while ago. We had an instance where one of the sinks, the janitorial sink in a business, they actually put some of the fire suppression system right in front of it. So you couldn't really use it unless you went through the side. So it just kind of clarified that there had to be a working space in front of the janitorial sink. I've been taking notes probably for the last 5 years on different things I've run into. Some of that I've incorporated into some of the new proposed code changes here. Our property maintenance code, page 36, putting some language giving us a little bit of ability to enforce dangerous trees or trees that aren't being maintained. Ran into some issues with especially the dead ash trees and people not wanting to cut them down, hanging over other people's property. So this will give us the ability to address those situations and have something done about those. Just for clarification too, on page 43, some of the fees are being proposed to change. That's really not a change. They're not being increased. It's just consistent with the fee section of our village code as it stands now. Because it was in the building code, it wasn't changed when we went through the codification process, so it's more of a housekeeping item. Article 2, page 80, we're looking for consideration of changing the accessory structure requirements that are over 225 square feet. What we're proposing and open for discussion is these structures would have to match the primary structure of the home, which would be brick or stone. It's brick or stone. They would need to at least have the lower 3 foot of that accessory structure, which is over 225 square feet, match the exterior of that primary structure of the home. Also, when I put in specific ASTM standards as far as the brick or stone, which is your typical brick or stone on your house, or even a brick veneer, this STMC 1088, which is the thinner brick, kind of like this, which looks like brick. From the street you wouldn't know it, but it would require a full foundation footing or wall, so it would be a lot easier on this accessory structure, and use this type of material would be allowed. And that basically covers it. 85 pages, it's a long document, lots of changes, a lot of technical changes, a lot of cleanup from the codification process, and as I said, just things that we've kind of run across the last 10 years.
That item you just went over, Joe, it says, the first couple lines of it, I think it repeats itself. It says, any permitted accessory building or structure within the residential zoning district of Homer Glen, total interior space, floor space exceeding 225 square feet shall be consistent with the materials of the primary structure. Then the next line says the same thing, exceeding 225 square feet.
I want to be clear about 225 square feet, because we do have accessory structures that are under 225 square feet, so that's why I just kind of...
So shouldn't it be up to 225 square feet, and then the next line would be exceeding 225 square feet? Doesn't this says that both of them can exceed 225 square feet?
Okay. Okay. We can amend that, clarify that.
So, and that brings me to my next question about that one in particular. So if, you know, we looked at that house over in Larkspur on South Town Parker, and that neighborhood has some older houses, some aluminum siding and stuff in there. So if you had a 224 square foot shed you were going to build on that property, and you had a 60-year-old house that was aluminum siding, are we saying that they could put aluminum siding onto that structure? Because it's going to match the primary structure on that rock, right?
Yeah.
So would we want to consider something like a minimum standard, maybe hardy board? You know, if you did have something that was non-conforming now that we're not allowing, but maybe the minimum standard is a hardy board or something of that nature. And just, you know, again, those are discussion items, I know. But, you know, this is kind of the back door to allowing either vinyl, if you happen to have an older house in the village that was had vinyl siding, you put in an accessory structure that meets that threshold, and you could now use a material that we're prohibiting. So, a couple of those.
I guess is that.
I think that's a good, I think that's a good idea, because we're, you know, promoting a non-conforming material.
Okay. So, hardy board or
again, that's something I know. I don't know every building material. We have a couple of people on the board here who are thick and thin in the building trades. So that, like I said, that to me is something I know, and
cement-based siding product.
You could just add language like hardy board or similar.
Yeah, cement-based.
Cement-based, because what I would do is get the ASTM standard. Hardy board is a brand name,
Right.
so it's actually a cement board-based siding. So I would get reference to the ASTM standard for that type of siding. Any other questions?
well, like I said, I have a few other things I'd like to go back to. You guys don't mind taking a journey with me? Back on page 5 where you started, I had a couple of points that I had listed on F, G, and H. and I think you've answered both of my points on F and G. I had written down who is currently the Board of Appeals, and you said there currently isn't one, so that's now would be the village board.
Correct.
And how would we act in that? Is that a full board issue? And I mean, I'm not sure how those things
It would
are.
be like a variance, correct?
Okay.
Same thing.
The code book actually has a means of creating a Board of Appeals consisting of different qualifications. Very hard, very few communities are able to do that based on the qualifications out of the code book. A lot of communities have just gone with the village board as the appeal process.
Okay, and then H, the passive radon system, would we be requiring a licensed contractor, somebody who's done those in the past, or is it just whatever the
It's
contractor
passive,
wants?
so because it's passive, you're not required to be licensed. Once you get into the active system, those are required to be certified. And actually, a lot of our builders are doing it voluntarily already.
I see
I see it on the radon task force down in Springfield, and I helped develop the code for this. And it was just something that was overlooked, the single family attached. We've talked about it a few times, and if that task force didn't get disbanded, we probably would have changed it on the state level as well.
It's only a new construction.
It's only a new
That's new
construction,
construction, correct.
On page 8, line 5, what about addressing refunds for expired permits? Because I know that, we've had an issue recently with extending the special use permits and things like that, and the developer wanting to get his money back if that wasn't going to be extended for the Homer Glen Commons, I can't remember the name of it, one on 143rd Street. But if a permit expires, is there some solution for refunding it, or is that just off the table?
Depending why it probably expires, did they actually start the work and it expired at that point because the work wasn't completed? We do have language in there currently for that. Or was the project never, if a permit was issued, they paid the money and they never did the work.
Right, that scenario there, would we get the money back, would we not, would we be loath to, what's their channel, or how do they go about getting either, requesting a refund or being denied a refund?
I think that's a hard one to tackle because there's always costs involved. They apply for it and they walk away, but there's still stuff behind the scenes that we're constantly doing.
I agree. Well, my note to myself says I think it shouldn't be refunded.
Currently, we did change the permit application fee down to $850, which covered our engineering review as well as the plan review. We did make that change, I think, 2 years ago. Yes. And also we didn't have that situation come up. For them to get for them to make payment and actually get the permit for the full, or to get the permit issued and make that full payment, we very rarely see that really happen since we've made those changes with the permit application fee.
We didn't want to be taking money out of people's pockets, but you have to cover what staff has done.
Sure.
So that's pretty much, they don't take in as much as they did take in before. We still take in a little bit, but it's basically enough to cover what the cost will be for the village. Okay. And then if we ran out, then they would also know, then they would also have to bump up money to pay it.
So by the time they might request a refund, if it had expired, you would at least have a paper trail to show them that basically staff has expended that time and effort and spent those dollars.
Right. Generally, they're not going to make that big payment for, say, a single-family home unless they have full intention of building that home. That would probably be if they got to that point and then they decided that they weren't going to build a home and they actually did have the permit. That would be something that would probably end up going down the channels and getting approval or some request like that too, because that's beyond my.
Along the same lines of the property on 143rd Street, the last line on that page 8, it says that the CEO, the chief building official, can grant extensions. I'm just wondering how many extensions and how long is an extension?
We asked for it to be in writing for a specific amount of time, depending on circumstances. We don't see a lot of that. It's something that things happen sometimes, especially with homeowners doing their own work. Projects seem to take a while sometimes, and in those instances would apply here.
But there's no definitive how many extensions might be granted to a permit?
Generally not. It's kind of hard. It depends on where they're at in the house. As long as the house is livable and they're doing small adjustments, there's not really a worry about it, but we still have the opportunity to make sure everything's done right. If there's something that makes a house or business inhabitable for it to, at least to be safe with, then they don't get any extensions on it. They shouldn't even get a permit to go in a temporary to go inside.
So, and then on the next page, or I'm sorry, 2 pages up, 11, number 18. That reads weirdly to me. It sounds like we're going to issue a temporary occupancy permanently. A certificate of occupancy or temporary occupancy shall be secured before a building is permanently occupied.
Well, that's because we said we would give them a temporary, if the concrete, like, let's say right now, they can't pour concrete.
Right.
So they could give him the temporary to go in when they don't have that option now.
Certain things they can't do.
No, I get that, right, you're timed out on the season.
It's just an
but it's
awkward
just,
verbiage.
it's very awkward. It's, like I said, you're going to give them a temporary to occupy permanently.
A lot of the verbiage in this document has been here for 15 years. I tried not to change too much of it without complicating everything. I kind of left it format the way it was because
That's
it is
being added.
just the word temporary occupancy is being added. On number 18 on page 11, yeah, just the word temporary occupancy has been
But
added.
before that, it read properly. Because it says you need to get a CO to and have it permanent.
It said a certificate of occupancy, which is the full occupancy once all requirements have been completed. It didn't address occupying the home. The temporary occupancy was issued based on maybe the flat work, concrete not being done, grading not being done, survey being submitted.
I think you're just talking about the grammar.
Yeah, again, I know, I'm not arguing with that things can't be done during the winter time. I'm just saying that the grammar of it, somebody might sit there and argue until they're blue in the face that, you know what, tell me I could temporarily, permanently occupy this.
We'll take a look at just rewording it so it's clear.
And I'm coming to the end of my notes. My last one is on page 81. And I would like to see almost the second line straightened. It says, and an intention to reflect the rural character of the village of Homer Glen. I think that's always been there, but this is talking about a variance that says that maybe you can build with different materials, and it just doesn't seem to make.
What are you like?
Very top, F, the second line.
Oh, F.
So right now it says residential buildings or structures which demonstrate exceptional architectural merit and an intention to reflect the rural character of the village of Homer Glen may upon application to the village board of trustees be granted a variance, yada, yada, yada. I'm just saying that I think that we could take out and an intention to reflect the rural character of the village of Homer Glen.
But why?
Because that's kind of like our meat and potatoes. It's already basically on the wall right there.
I don't think it hurts to leave.
Yeah. So then this would mean that somebody who wanted to put up, like these steel structures that the Banksons just put up in a residential area because they're kind of rural and they're farm looking, and it looks like. So, you know.
I think you want to look at it from the standpoint of materials not meeting the standards would require an appeal by the village board, and just leave it as something like that, and then the board can decide what's appropriate for the specific area. And we can take a look at
We do that now.
I know what he's saying though, because the, residential buildings or structures which demonstrate exceptional architectural merit, and once you put the language of rule in there, kind of, that's a matter of opinion. Exceptional architecture to me, and I'm not saying that this is the case, might be something that's very modern.
Could be all glass house.
And so, right,
Right.
then this, you would say that that's not rule. But it's still, in my opinion, and I'm not saying that, is an exceptional architectural design. An all glass house or a Frank Lloyd Wright house, would we say no to something like that? That's not rule.
Like the
It's
house
an
we approved in
exception.
Hills.
Yeah, we'll just approve the house.
Jetson's house
Yeah.
in Spring Creek.
I don't have a problem striking
You're saying strike the whole line?
it. No, I think just taking out the after and intention to reflect the rural character. Because we would want, structures which demonstrate exceptional architectural merit, because that's something that can be
But it's still coming before the
debated.
board.
Right, and that can be debated, But once you say rule, then it takes out things like a Frank Lloyd Wright or something that has the popular thing that's coming now is a lot of energy efficient homes, green glass and things like that.
So you say just take out rural?
Yes.
To reflect the character of the village of Homer Glen.
Take out rural?
Take out rule.
It doesn't exclude anything.
The whole document's going to be up for interpretation if we get that.
Everything is.
Yeah, fine, with elimination of rural.
Okay. Keith, anything else?
No.
Joe, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Page 21, or 21 down. 82. There's still 82.
82, I left. 82, nice job.
Very nice. Sharon's got it.
I just have a quick question. On page 11, number 20, where it says pools should have a separation of 10 feet of houses. What is that separation from a fence?
Just sit there.
Well, it would be 10 feet houses, garages, and sheds.
I'm sorry.
It's 10 feet from houses, garages, and sheds. So the intent there is so somebody isn't jumping off the roof and there's a pool.
Is it and or? It's and.
It could be or, I guess.
Could be or.
Could be or.
And then the pools would have the normal setback as
Correct, nothing would change.
any structure?
Yeah, right.
Okay. And just a quick question on page 10, number 8. Is it because it was so minor? Why was tie downs crossed out? Because it's such a minor thing?
Yeah, it was, it's not necessary, it was just a bad reference in the code. The technical codes actually reference the way things are secured, the structure, the foundation, the walls, and it was just a tie down as a bad that type of thing.
Thank you.
Just one quick thing on accessory structures. Just to clarify, on the, so we're saying anything under 225 square feet would be cement board required?
Minimum.
I don't believe there is. I don't believe right now.
Older area and had a house that was aluminum.
Yeah, currently there is no standard for anything under 225 square feet.
Okay. I thought that's what we just did. What were we just talking about with cement board? That was for under 225.
No.
Oh.
Well, the wording of the way it is currently says that they're both over 225 square feet. And my thought is that the intention was from up to 50, you don't need a permit. 50 to 225, you need to match the existing structure that's on the lot.
That's what I'm saying.
And over 225, you need to be brick veneer or whatever on the bottom 36 inches.
Yeah, but Trustee Gray, I guess what I'm trying to clarify is you're saying your understanding is between 50 and 225 is what you'd like to see minimum cement board.
Minimum standard being that, so if you had an aluminum sided house on the property already and you were to build 224 square feet, you couldn't put on aluminum siding or vinyl. You could put on brick, you could put on stone, but the minimum is that you have
So that's what I was clear, that's what I thought that conversation just was. So where I hesitate on that is, I want to put up a 7.5 foot by 7 foot shed. I now have to go do cement board on that structure. I'm saying under the proposal of, if we make cement board our minimum standard.
Well, it
No, you'd be under
7 by 7.
It has to be 8 by 8. You've got to get bigger.
Yeah, bigger than 50 square feet, so it'd have to be more than 7 by 7.
No, 7.5 by 7.
Okay.
Right,
You're
like 52.
Yeah, anything over 50.
Yeah. 7 by 7 will be 40 now.
Currently, there is no standard unless you go over that 225.
And that's what I'm trying to clarify.
So you're saying like that smaller end where you're above 50?
Yeah, I mean, the 225 and above, that, you and I have talked about that multiple times. I love that we're no longer going to have in our code requiring brick from ground to rooftop on a 225 square foot shed, right? I think that's always been overboard, and the cost of a brick foundation and everything that goes with that. So, and in talking with you, Joe, I think what I've learned through that process is the first 3 foot is the most important. That's the first to go on a building because of frost and because of moisture and because of everything. So I'm great with that. I love that we're changing that to make that a little bit more friendly and a little more cost effective for residents and still maintaining some character. So that part I'm great with. It's the under 225. 50 and under, I want to clarify that. Under 50, no permit, doesn't matter if it's plastic, wood.
We asked that it be plastic, or easily movable.
Well, that's
why we said easily movable, because that's the situation we're running into.
Okay.
Now, between the 50 and the 225, then, we see a lot of those sheds, those 8 by 10s, those tough sheds they sell at Home Depot, things like that. And you wouldn't, if we were to require the cement fiber siding on those, you would eliminate, those from being built or installed.
Exactly, and that's my point. So, and for me, again, on an 8 by 8 shed, I'm comfortable with a, whatever the standard sort of plywood exterior siding is on like a tough shed or something like that. I don't know that I need to go to cement board standard minimum on an 8 by 8 shed in town. And that's what I was trying to, just to clarify. So,
before my change to that though, you would not be able to put up the tough shed because it said that it needed to match the primary structure on the lot. So if the primary structure on the lot
if it was over 225 square feet.
I think the language as it was written was just a little confusing, and I think the intent was under 50 square feet, no permit, under 250 square feet, no material requirements. 225. And over 225, we were suggesting the modification. I do think it was just confusing the way it was written, and I think we got off on that tangent. I think over 225 is where the board was trying to get to the cement material.
Right.
Yeah.
and you're comfortable with that?
Yes.
So under 225, leaving as is, you're comfortable?
So under 225, you can put up anything you want.
Why don't you just make it 224 so there's no confusion? Because if you put it up at 225, you can do this, but if you do not 225, you can also go to this.
You have to have a number. I don't think that's the confusing part.
No, I'm just saying from the way Keith just kind of explained it, if you're under 225, or if you're 225, you can do pretty much whatever you need to do. And if you're over 225, then you have to start building all kinds of things into it. Well, 225 is 225. It's confusing because then it would either have to start at 226 or 224. So it's just a number.
Whenever we do this, I'll make this a mailbox issue.
No. No, I think as it reads exceeds 225, means it's got to be more than 225. I don't think there's confusion there.
I think we're all in agreement in what we want to see, that up to 50, no permit, it's a deck box essentially. 51 to 224, you can go and buy a pre-made shed. I have one myself, I have a Suncast, it's plastic. So those would all still be okay and permitted, they would just, or permissible. And I'm okay with all of that. Maybe I misread it. It made it sound like it had to match the primary structure. And I was just saying that if the primary structure is aluminum sided structure, then we're going to be allowing things that we're prohibiting.
Right. So if your primary structure, if your primary structure is aluminum sided, you
still want the brick and the cement board siding.
Above 225.
Above 225.
Veneer or what?
So anything over 225 basically.
Right, because that eases the burden on somebody building a 226 square foot and above shed, which is what we set out to do. And it still maintains some order on that middle ground of 51 to 224, and it allows people not to have to come before us for a deck box, which is exactly what we want to do.
And there's still a variance process if they need it, but this cuts down on it. Can I just ask Scott real quick if he's comfortable with all this since he stayed late, just to involve him?
Sure.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think with the shed, we're still regulating that first 3 feet once we get over 200.
Exactly right.
So
Yeah.
everybody's on board with that. Okay. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Thanks for all your work on this. That's a lot of work and for the fire department and all in an effort to streamline it, so.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe a question for the attorney. Does this have to go before public hearing at our next meeting to get this adopted?
I don't think so. I'll have to look at it.
You can maybe check into that. I've heard conflicting ideas on opinions.
All right, is there any old business? Any new business? Need a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Need a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, meeting adjourned.